Gravitas, co-presented by Skoda. Kushak, choose what really matters.
On the 31st of August, the United Nations Security Council held a meeting. It was on Afghanistan. India was the council president then. They adopted a resolution. It said Afghan soil should not be used to shelter terrorists. That was 2 weeks back. 2 weeks is all they took to turn Afghanistan into the new headquarters for global jihad. This is according to the United Nations. It says the Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-E-Mohammad are not just present in Afghanistan, they're quote-unquote active on the battlefield. How many of them? Anywhere between 6,000 to 6,500 Lashkar and Jaish terrorists. They're looking to make Afghanistan their permanent base. Last month, we told you how a large number of terrorists had entered Kabul. This was days after the Taliban takeover. These men belong to the Jaish-e-Mohammad and the Lashkar-e-Taiba, also the Islamic State. Now the UN says there are many more. According to another assessment, terrorists of all descriptions are relocating to Afghanistan. Here's a breakdown. First, we have the Al-Qaeda. They're the closest to the Taliban for obvious reasons. The Taliban had shielded Osama bin Laden when the US launched their war on terror. Now they're protecting what remains of the Al-Qaeda. According to a United Nations assessment in June, the Al-Qaeda is active in 15 out of 34 provinces in Afghanistan. Half of them. Next on the list is Al-Qaeda in the Indian subcontinent. This is an extension of the Al-Qaeda, a separate affiliate for South Asia. In the past, this group has tried to create a module of Indian nationals. It was weakened by the US offensive. Now it is active again in Afghanistan. Number 3, the Islamic State Khorasan, ISIS-K, the same organization that carried out the Kabul airport suicide attack. Going by one estimate, the ISIS-K has around 2,000 members in Afghanistan. They're mostly active in northern and eastern provinces. Number 4 is the Haqqani Network. Well, they're part of the government now, a group that has a direct presence in the government. Its leader, Sirajuddin Haqqani, is now the Interior Minister of Afghanistan, but they're still a terrorist group. And going by the latest available estimates, the group has anywhere between 2,000 to 4,000 members. They divide their time between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Then we have the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. They fought the Afghan civilian government with the Taliban. This group stands to benefit from the Taliban's rise. Add the Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammad, and this takes the list to 7. At least 7 major terrorist groups active in Afghanistan as we speak, the new headquarters of global jihad with implications outside the country. You see, these terrorist groups have affiliates the world over. And these affiliates are enthused by the Taliban's win. A terrorist group has taken over a country. World powers are engaging with it. The United Nations is talking about sending aid. The US is calling them businesslike. Their government is telling the world to not interfere in internal matters. What more could terrorists ask for? So groups elsewhere are pledging allegiance to the Taliban. The Al-Qaeda in Arabian Peninsula says the Taliban's rise marks the beginning of a pivotal transformation across the world. The Al-Qaeda affiliate in North Africa says the Taliban takeover is proof, and I'm quoting, that the only way to restore the Ummah's glory is through jihad. Ummah, of course, is a reference to the global Muslim community. In Somalia, the Shabab al-Mujahideen has said, and I'm quoting again, as we were rejoiced with the news of Afghanistan of pride, we give the glad tidings to our Muslim Ummah that the news of the trenches of jihad is another source of happiness, whatever that means. These statements speak for themselves, though. Terrorists the world over have found a new base, a new headquarters for jihad, and the Taliban are their new role model. This is America's gift to the world after their 20-year-long war. And India, among others, is being forced to deal with this new threat at its doorstep. Today, Maulavi Amir Khan Muttaqi, the foreign minister of the so-called Taliban government, appeared before the press. He is a United Nations sanctioned terrorist, the foreign minister of Afghanistan. WION's correspondent Anas Malik was there at the press conference. We asked him about the Taliban's Kashmir policy. Will the Taliban meddle in Kashmir? What will it do with the United Nations sanctions? Will they demand a delisting from the global body? Here's what he said.
Anas Malik from WION. What is Taliban's Kashmir policy? Because it would decide the course of action with India and Pakistan both. Thank you.
Kashmir and everywhere else where there is tyranny, our policy is that we should stand with them. However, if there is a conflict between the two countries, like how it's said in the world to solve issues through talks, we would also emphasize solving it through talks. However, we stand with those who are oppressed.
What happens to the UN listing? Because we're seeing that at least 17 individuals of this 33 cabinet are listed by UN. You yourself is a listed individual. How do you plan on getting off the list from the UN? Because you have UNGA coming up, who will be representing Afghanistan. Thank you.
They continue to be on the list even now. It's a cruel and baseless decision. We demand and hope that the issue will be resolved. If they want Afghanistan to grow and progress, then they should abolish the sanctions. During the Doha talks, US said that all will be excluded from the blacklist.
The Taliban want to, quote-unquote, raise their voice for Kashmiri Muslims. Safe to say no one is listening to them. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.
Gravitas, co-presented by Skoda. Kushak, choose what really matters.